Hi everyone, welcome back to Coffee, Books, and Rain. I'm Rachel, and here I am with my coffee, with my books and reviews, and with potential rain. Now, this episode will be releasing today, July 1st, because again, thought I recorded this, sat down to upload it, have all these other episodes that I think I've recorded, and I just get off track because I really do have, I read so many, and then I think I've recorded them, and I write my reviews, and then I forget to record them. So, we are diving into Gravebirds by Dana Elmendorf. Now, funny thing is I was kind of on the fence when I was reading this book. Because it starts off really strong. And then about a third of the way in, I was kind of like, do I want to finish reading this? Because it might not have even been third of the way in. It might have been maybe 15% of the way in, where it kind of gets a little off track from my perspective. However, the ratings were super good on Goodreads because I did actually check Goodreads at that point. I wanted to see if it was just me. And apparently, it was just me. So, picked it back up, and then I finished it because you know what? It makes up for that point that I was just sitting here like, are we really going in this direction? So let me read you the summary, and then we'll dive into my thoughts on why all of that happened. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires meets Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil in this twisty, fresh take on a Southern Gothic that follows a mysterious, charming bachelor as he makes his way into a small town, bringing a plague and the devil with him. From the GMA, I think that's Good Morning America, I don't know, don't watch much TV, BuzzPick author Dana Elmendorf. Gravebirds haunt the cemeteries of Hawthorne, South Carolina. They also seem to haunt like a lot of other places, so don't let that fool you. Where Spanish moss drips from the trees and Southern charm is imbued with lies. Hollis Sutherland never knew these unique birds existed until she died and was brought back to life. The ghostly birds are manifestations of the dead's unfinished business, and they know Hollis and her uncanny gift can set them free. When a mysterious, charming bachelor wanders into their small town, bizarre events begin to plague its wealthiest citizens like blood dripping from dogwood blossoms, flocks of birds crashing into windows of their homes, and faces in paintings morphing into distortion. Hollis knows these are omens her grandfather warned about, announcing the devil's return. Despite Cain Landry's eerie presence and the plague that has followed him, his handsome face and wicked charm win over the townsfolk. Even Hollis falls under his spell and they grow closer. That is, until lies about the town's past start to surface. The Gravebirds begin to show Hollis the dead's ugly past from some 25 years ago, and she learns all about the horrible things these noble families did to gain their wealth. Hollis can't decide if Cain is some immortal hand of God there to expose their sins, or if he's the devil there to ruin them all. Either way, she's determined to save her town and the people in it, whatever she has to do. Now, it is considered horror, fantasy, gothic, paranormal, supernatural, and it says magical realism, which potentially. Yeah, I can kind of see it, but only like potentially. It's a little bit slow burn romance too, and I'll give it that credit. It's about 320 pages in hardcover. I had the audiobook, had a little burp, which was about 12 and a half hours long, and I do listen to it a little bit sped up, but let us dive in because, again, at about 15%, I was really on the fence as to whether I wanted to continue this book. I love the premise. We meet Hollis, who at a young age, and I want to say 10, 11, 12 years old, she is riding in a truck with her grandfather. And I don't know if I want to spoil like why she's in the truck with her grandfather, but let's just say she's in the truck with her grandfather, and someone crashes into the side of them as they're crossing over a bridge, and they go off the side of the bridge into the river. Well, Hollis is dead for approximately 32 minutes before she's revived. Her grandfather doesn't make it. However, when she's revived, she is then able to see these grave birds. And each of the birds is a little different. Sometimes it's a sparrow, it's a wren, it's a cardinal, it's a blue jay, sometimes it's a raven. So the birds are not always the same type of birds. Sometimes it's just based on the person's personality. So Hollis can now see these birds, and one does follow. I don't want to say follows her around that because it's like her grandfather's bird stays with her grandmother pretty much. But Hollis really does kind of have an issue confronting the bird. But anyway, these are the parts that I really liked in the very beginning because it gave it this really spooky, eerie vibe. Well, anyway, fast forward, we've now learned Hollis has this ability, but we fast forward to the present day of Hollis having this ability. And all of a sudden, we're in the present, and she's an event planner, not doing so great. She's trying to get her feet off the ground. And I feel it's just like this 1-2 punch after another of her just getting knocked down, one right after the other, just getting knocked down, one right after the other. And things just go from like bad to worse. And I think at that point I was just like, okay, this girl has died. She's lost her grandfather. She's lost pretty much every single person in her life. She's losing this, she's losing that, like everything. And and then this guy comes along, and I'm just like, seriously. And then, oh yeah, and then this guy comes along and moves in next door, and let's just say the house that her uncle left her, that he gave her, like, I guess the deed or the will said that she had a year to, get the money to purchase the house. The bank sold it out from under her, which pissed me off, and then ends up being this guy, Kane Landry. So, of course, then she's like almost instant crush on this guy, which also pissed me off. And I was just like, I don't know if I can deal with all this, because I just feel like we've gone in a completely different direction. We had this really cool premise of this girl with this ability, and we're leaning into event planning and insta crushes on mysterious guys who have stolen our houses out from under us. So I got to that point, and I was really on the fence about whether I wanted to finish it, because I was just like, I don't know, like, this is pissing me off. However, I buckled up, went on through it, and it actually starts, funny enough, fire tornadoes is what turned it around for me. I know, weird, right? I was decided to finish listening to some of it on my way to a concert I was going to. It was a metal concert, and it was raining like torrential downpour, and there were fire tornadoes that were being talked about in this book, and I was like, you know what? It's starting to resonate with me. But from there, the book got better. So I definitely do now give this book 4.5 stars. From there, the book really picked up. Still think the romance was like way too fast. Like, it was just insta fast. Like, not the chemistry, I guess, between the two was really fast, in my personal opinion. It was so fast that they had time not to plan their own wedding, but someone else's wedding that was already, like, she was chosen to plan someone's wedding, and by the time of that wedding, they were they were almost living together. I don't know, for me that's pretty fast. I've not read anything to my knowledge by Dana Elmendorf before. I'd have to go back and look in her repertoire, but it does feel like, at first I thought, like, with the grave birds and stuff and that southern vibe, I did get a little bit of like Devil Coming to Town. I just recently read a book, oh gosh, it was set in Georgia, and there were like the three devils, and it was really good. It was like the cicada and the snake and the red crow. Anyway, I'll think about it, but it was a really good book. I liked that one like so much. And I didn't feel like there was like a ton of romance in there. It was like smidgen of romance, but it was really more YA Gothic, Southern Gothic. Highly recommend that one as well. If I can think of the name, I'll maybe like put it on the screen or something. But this one, like, it picked up and it turned around for me because I started thinking, I was like, how are we going to really, like, I need to fix this. Or, like, maybe not me needs to fix this, but I want to hear more about these grave birds. This kind of supernatural, paranormal, magical realism, if you will, aspect of these grave birds. So, what it is when she encounters these grave birds, and again, the summary references that she encounters them in cemeteries. They're not bound to cemeteries. They are not bound to where perhaps people are laid to rest, but rather it seems more like where people met the end of their lives. And they're not always bound to that because it seems as though her grandfather's sparrow, I believe it is able to reside with her grandmother. However, there's one under a desk in someone's house or kind of near the desk. There's one in an old cabin out in the woods at an old kind of like lakeside resort that's run down. So I don't know if I really agree with the phrasing on the summary of kind of them being relegated, because I don't know if you would actually find just a ton of them in the cemetery if people didn't meet their ends in cemeteries. I almost would imagine you may find more like in the streets, like car accident wise, which is terrible to envision if you actually had this ability. You would kind of see them. Oh, anyway, I didn't even really consider that, but like just thinking about it now, it's kind of scary. Now, I have not, I think of the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil has been on my to read list for a very long time. I probably have a copy of it on my bookshelf somewhere, and I have not ever read it. And I even know there's a movie, but I do prefer to read the books first. So I think that's why I've also avoided the movie, is because I haven't read the book. Now that's just the way I do it, and I have, like, there is no judgment if people tend to watch the movie and then read the book, or just watch the movie and never pick up the book. I don't care. Like, I have no say in how you intake your media of any kind. Go for it. That is your preference. But I do think that this was a pretty good read. Just get past that 15% mark when it kind of changes pace right there, because it does have a very good, it does get a spooky vibe, and I do like the ending and how it plays out. I suspected something along the lines, but not quite what I got. So I was very, like, not saying pleased, but it's satisfying, I guess, as you can say. I think there's enough, like, without spoiling it. Again, not spoiling this, but there is enough justice brought to the surface to yeah, to really kind of bring it home for me. And let's see, somebody does say this is magical realism exactly how I like it. Atmospheric, slightly spooky, but not too scary to keep you up at night. I don't know. See, I like kind of spooky, but one of my first forays into magical realism that I knew was magical realism, because I didn't really pay attention to the fact that magical realism was a genre, was about 2.5 or 3 years ago when I read, I think it was like Chocolate for Water or something like that. It's anyway, it was a very interesting book, but this girl, like, literally, I guess she's so consumed with lust that she runs across, like, the field naked because she is, like, on fire. And I was just like, what is going on? But apparently it was a lot of references to magical realism in that book, and I just was so blown away. I was like, oh, because I didn't realize that's what it was like referencing, because I guess there was something about the food in that particular book. But this book, I guess I always kind of thought it was like a paranormal, supernatural thing going on. I mean, maybe it kind of is. I mean, we've got these little ghosty birds going on, and I think they are kind of heartbreaking. Like when she runs across some of these little birds, it is heartbreaking to hear her descriptions of them. So, just letting you know that it can have moments of heartbreak. Just because there are just some scenes where when she is able to connect with these little grave birds, she is able to share some of the memories of those birds and the person that they're linked to, their last moments, and what they were feeling or thinking, which is why they are so important, is because either like she is able to help them move on by acknowledging them, or she's able to maybe complete some sort of task that then helps them move on. Like they show her something that she's then able to maybe do on their behalf. And I think that's the best way to put it in order to kind of maybe not give too much away. I don't want to spoil too much for you. But I did get this on NetGalley, loved it, highly recommend it, and it is out today on July 1st, if I remember correctly, because I had it saved specifically for today because I wanted it to release, yes, on the day of publication. So, with all of that being said, I'm going to leave it here. I do think Kane Landry is better than he seems when he starts out. He's just got a chip on his shoulder. If you read it, you'll understand. But with all that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have not liked and subscribed already, I hope you will. And thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one.